to the Diani Beach Festival, and we're going to see exactly what's happening there, sights, sounds, and what's going on that particular site. Let's move there now. Well, okay, the Kwale County is gearing up for the annual Diani Beach Festival, and so we're moving on to that particular site. It's expected to be held in South Coast as from today to run up until the 23rd of December. And we want to now speak to one of the events organizers there that we're going to cross over to. What can Kenyans expect from this festival? What do you aim to achieve from this? And how has the response been so far when it comes to the festival?
This is obviously the second year Diani Beach Festival is returning after the successes of the first year. Initially the idea of Diani Beach Festival was to provide a platform, especially in the festive season, to really promote what is amazing about not only Diani, about the Kenyan coast. So the second edition this year, we've kind of shortened it, gone with the theme of sport, i.e. the skydiving, which we've seen over the last couple of weeks. A number of international skydivers come across, and now as we move into the festive period, we'll start moving into the music and lifestyle. We've got 3 fantastic events, artists such as Sauti Sol, Nyashinsky, Heart the Band. Our vision this year for the Kenyans is to really try to promote brand Kenya. The Kenya Tourism Board have been extremely supportive, and yeah, no, I think it's just time to again re-put that message on the map that, Diani Beach is up there amongst the world's best. It's won the world's best beach. So guys from Nairobi, Eldoret, no need to go to Zanzibar, no need to go to Cape Town. We have a world-class venue in Diani Beach Club. We'll put on an absolutely high-end, top-class evening entertainment throughout the Diani Beach Festival. And hey, with the skydiving, currently one of the only few places in the world where you can land on a beach, and hey, there's not many places in Africa which do it. So, our vision is we've got to let people know that the Kenyan coast is the right place to be. And hey, we've seen this year the tourism numbers have absolutely increased. I think the hotels currently are already fully occupied. So no, we're all really looking forward to really showing Kenya off this year.
That was Sandeep Patel, one of the organizers of the Diani Beach Festival. Sandeep, a quick question before I let you go. You've said you've also got a lot of musical acts lined up, including Nyashinsky, Sauti Sol, and more. Do you think that the Kenyan audiences are very much geared towards looking at local talent now? And what about as compared to international artists? What have you seen in terms of the responsiveness of people who want to sample this kind of music?
So last year we did have quite a mixed range. We had obviously Sauti Sol returning again this year. We went for international artists last year. The general feedback we got, especially from our international tourists, was, we're coming all the way to Kenya. We don't necessarily need to see artists that we see on a weekly basis. So we've kind of kept it quite strong. We've obviously got 1 or 2 internationals. We've got a great surprise on New Year's Eve this year with DJ Pink Mohawk. But no, there'll be a few good surprises this year. But absolutely, it's time to put Kenya on the map.
All right, thank you very much, Sandeep, for speaking to us today on Business Today. Right now, let's move on. As Kenyans fast usher in the festive season, alcohol manufacturers are already beginning to register a surge in sales volumes. KTN's Agina had an exclusive interview with a global Glennfidich brand ambassador Struan Rolf on why whiskey uptake is on the rise and how global brands are positioning themselves amidst mounting competition. Over to you, Abby.
Many thanks for keeping it KTN News. We now want to talk matters whiskey. And of course, this is the festive season, and there will be a lot of downing of good and hot things over this period. And I'm now hosting the global brand ambassador for Glennfidich, and that is Struan Rolf. Many thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure, absolutely.
All right, and not your first time in Kenya. Perhaps what brings you back this time round?
Yeah, it's my second time. We were here this exact week, actually, last year, in these very studios, actually, with Peter.
Yeah.
We're here because the Kenyan market is really exciting for us right now. Single malts are, they're really they're growing, and Glennfidich, as a sort of market leader here, is really excited to be engaging our consumers and launching new things. And personally, I just really enjoy being in Nairobi as well.
All right. And speaking about this festive season, of course, globally it's a big time where families unwind, friends do parties. And looking at the consumption trends, how would you describe the uptick for this particular product in Africa?
Yeah, Africa-wide, Scottish single malts are flying. It's really an interesting time. This market in particular, we've seen double-digit growth over the last few years. Something that is really rewarding for us as a team here, as we continue to engage people who are growing in that sort of connoisseurship. I know you yourself enjoy the Glenfiddich 15, which is it's a fantastically rounded single malt whiskey, and we're seeing that that trend across the markets as well. So it's a really interesting time for us in the continent and here in the country as well.
All right. And of course, in line with this, the brand has also been organizing quite a number of whiskey tastings.
Yeah.
And what should you expect for this time around the 21 tasting?
Yeah, we launched Glenfiddich 21. So it's the first time bringing in a sort of whiskey of this age and kind of exclusivity into the Kenyan market. So over the course of this week, we had tastings and quite large events. We had quite a large one last night, which went on to the wee hours. And it's been great to see the reaction. Glenfiddich 21 is a very special whiskey. Once it gets over that sort of 2-decade mark, you're getting lots of rich and robust flavors. And it's rare, it's rare to see a 21-year-old finished rum cask whiskey as well.
All right. And looking at the Kenyan market, it's a very price-sensitive market. And when you look at when it comes to placement of the product in this particular region, there are also other competing brands that are eyeing the same market share that you are anticipating. How do you intend to wrestle your place in the market?
I think one of the things that we always try and do is give our enthusiasts and our consumers new and exciting experiences with the brand. So it's maybe not just your typical, whiskey tasting, or it's maybe not just your typical retail occasion. Glenfiddich has always just tried to innovate and pioneer within the category. We're in a leadership position here. We take it very seriously. So we're just continually trying to increase our mix in terms of how we bring our whiskies to life. And also getting out there amongst our, all our fans and our enthusiasts, as we have been this week, and as we will be throughout the festive season as well.
All right. And looking at the bigger picture, now that you've seen some very good feedback from the Kenyan market, in terms of sales volumes globally, we are seeing the brand has sold over 19,000 cases. This is according to the latest research. And if you to project how this will play out, say, coming into the new year, are we anticipating a big spike in sales, or is it going to just be an incremental kind of approach?
Yeah, I think the IWSR figures might be slightly inflated, certainly for the market, but what I think a healthy brand should see, we don't want to see spikes. We want to see gradual, sustainable growth, right? And the new year, 2019, we'll just continue to do what we're doing, importing a high-quality product, the world's most awarded single malt whiskey, and then continuing to bring it to life here in the market the way we always have.
All right. And outside Kenya, which other markets are you performing pretty well?
There's a lot of excitement Africa-wide. So with South Africa and Nigeria right now is really, really interesting for us. Pockets of Southeast Asia, in particular Taiwan, has always been a huge single malt market. And then the kind of old houses of UK, France, and the US, you'll always see big single malt countries. They don't really boom or bust, they just kind of grow quite naturally. So.
All right. And something that is quite peculiar, what has been really driving the sales, other than being the most awarded whiskey in the world?
Yeah, I think we've increased the portfolio here, in the market. So just to have a 21-year-old as a sort of, super premium whiskey there. We continue to win awards, as you said, so people have confidence in the liquid integrity of the whiskey. The whiskey itself tells its own story, and it's a story of high quality. And you're also starting to see maybe a more sort of globalized and educated sort of consumer base, in terms of they're maybe seeing whiskies while they're traveling, and they're taking that kind of whiskey drinking occasion back to their home country. So I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but it's very exciting right now in the category.
Interesting, interesting. And Ralph, looking at the Kenyan experience, of course, there's also the challenge that has befallen many of the beverage makers across the market, and that is, of course, issues of counterfeit. How big a challenge is this to your brand?
Yeah, we're quite fortunate in the size and scale of Glennfidich right now. We're not as susceptible maybe to some of our competitors for being counterfeited. Certainly in the world of blended scotches, you might see a lot more of that. But we have systems in place in terms of our labeling and in terms of the codes that we have on our bottles. We can trace everything to one lot number, to a bottling line, to a distributor, and in some cases we do adapt the closure on a bottle so we can prevent tampering as well.
All right. And as we come to the tail end of this discussion, this has been quite a big brand globally, especially when it comes to sustainable family businesses. It's seen quite a number of generations. And what's been driving all this?
I think like any good family business, it's just each generation has been very vested in the success and the future. So for example, each of the Grant family, as they come through the business of William Grant's, they need to work in every part of the business, from the distillery floor through to coopering, through to distribution, logistics, bottling. So they have a really true sense of how the business works, and they also have a real sense of how to bring it forward. So it's a legacy that's handed down from 6 generations, and long may it continue.
All right. And if you're to wrap up and give us a nutshell of, for those that are not whiskey takers, what are they missing out on?
It's a good question. I mean, single malt whiskey, I guess it's flavour, it's definitely an occasion. I find it's a good way to get your friends to come together and actually social. When was the last time you got your friends to sit down for 4 hours and join you in discussion? Single malt whiskey can do that. And yeah, it's a really interesting world of single malt whiskey. There's a lot of different expressions out there. So if you are interested in getting into it, there's loads of information out there. There's loads of different styles. And certainly with Glennfidich, we've got some really interesting whiskies for you to try for the first time.
All right. Many thanks there, Struan, Grant, for that very important discussion around the whiskey market.
My pleasure.
Wish you all the best and happy holidays.
Thank you. Santi Sana.
Well, that's none other than the brand ambassador for the global brand ambassador, Struan Grant Ralph, just shedding some light into the whiskey market dynamics in the country, and of course some interesting conversations that many people should be having over this festive season. Well, many thanks for your company. My name is Agina.